Hello everyone, welcome back to Gossip Star Vibe, and social media has erupted into total mayhem following overnight rumors that Mona Scott has allegedly pulled the plug on Love and Hip Hop to launch a mysterious new venture that no one anticipated. According to insiders, the reality TV mogul is secretly developing a fresh series, and if the rumors are accurate, it's reportedly more explosive than anything ever featured on Love and Hip Hop. But things only get more intense. Reports suggest this decision sparked serious drama. Tensions allegedly rose between Mona and several major cast members, including Rashida, Kirk Frost, Mendices, and Yandy Smith, resulting in a full-blown shouting match on set. Rashida and Mona reportedly disagreed over creative authority. Kirk stormed off the set, and Mendices allegedly labeled the whole production a setup. Meanwhile, Yandy was reportedly heartbroken, saying she was completely caught off guard and left in tears after an emotional face-off with Mona. Now, fans are demanding the truth as cast members post cryptic updates online, stirring even more rumors. What exactly is this hidden project? And did Mona truly end Love and Hip Hop just to replace it? Stay tuned. This story is far from over. When whispers first started about Mona Scott shutting down Love and Hip Hop, most people dismissed them as unfounded gossip or another internet myth that would fade fast. But by the weekend, things took a different turn. Cast members were strangely silent. Crew members stopped sharing their usual behind-the-scenes photos, and then came the real shocker. Mona Scott was spotted leaving a private Atlanta studio with a small team of producers, none of whom had ties to Love and Hip Hop. Insiders started talking, and what they shared shook the fan base. Mona wasn't just working on something new. She was allegedly replacing Love and Hip Hop with an entirely new show. And worse, the original cast was kept in the dark. Rashida was among the first to notice something was off. She had been reaching out to producers for weeks, asking about filming dates, but kept getting vague answers and postponed schedules. Kirk Frost, growing wary, confronted one of the assistant producers off the record and was reportedly told that Mona had been scouting new talent and locations completely unrelated to Love and Hip Hop. He brought the news to Rashida, and the two began connecting the dots. Missed meetings, absent scripts, last-minute wardrobe cancellations. Something major was happening, and it didn't look good. At the same time, Mendices and Yandy were also sensing a shift. After flying in from New York expecting to shoot, they were told the studio was under renovation, despite having filmed there just weeks earlier without issue. Suspicious, Yandy tried to contact a longtime producer she trusted, but got no reply. No calls, no texts. It was as if the production had disappeared overnight. Yandy started to panic. Love and Hip Hop had been central to her brand. Losing that platform with no warning could hurt her career, her business, and her family. Eventually, tensions came to a head during a sudden meeting that Mona held in Atlanta. Only a few cast members were invited, raising even more suspicion. Kirk, Rashida, Mendices, and Yandy all managed to attend, despite the short notice. The vibe in the room was icy from the beginning. Mona entered with a new production team, all dressed in black, and got straight to the point. She reportedly talked about the evolving landscape of reality TV and how viewers wanted content that felt more authentic and less scripted. That's when Rashida cut in, allegedly standing and saying, "So we're fake now?" The room went quiet. Mona attempted to de-escalate, but Kirk wasn't having it. He accused her of exploiting them for years and discarding them now that they no longer served her purpose. Yandy appeared visibly upset, and Mendices sat back, arms crossed, clearly furious. Then came the bombshell. Mona allegedly confirmed that Love and Hip Hop was going on indefinite hiatus. The new project, titled Real Roots, would center on a fresh wave of Black entrepreneurs and influencers. Mona claimed it would focus less on conflict and more on legacy, but the cast wasn't buying it. They understood that less drama still meant drama, just without them in it. Yandy reportedly broke down in tears at the table, saying she had sacrificed so much and revealed so much of her personal life, only to be tossed aside without notice. Mona remained silent, letting Yandy speak, her expression unchanged. What followed turned a tense meeting into chaos. Kirk allegedly slammed his fist on the table, accusing Mona of betrayal. "You built your empire on our pain," he said, "and now that we're not useful, you're done with us." Mona didn't respond, but one of her new producers reportedly told Kirk to calm down. That's when things escalated. Mendices got in the producer's face, Words were exchanged, and security had to step in. Rashida pulled Kirk back, and Yandy grabbed Mendices, trying to defuse the situation, but the damage had been done. This wasn't just a casting shakeup or a business decision. It felt like a personal betrayal. After the meeting ended in chaos, everyone went their separate ways, but the drama didn't stay quiet. Cryptic posts started flooding social media. Yandy shared a black screen on Instagram with the caption, "Royalty has an expiration date." Rashida tweeted, "Funny how success makes..." Some people seem to forget who helped create it. Fans were first puzzled, then outraged, flooding Mona Scott's social media with comments demanding clarification. Was Love and Hip Hop actually canceled? What was this new series, and why were the original stars left out in the cold? Meanwhile, rumors spread rapidly. Some alleged Rashida and Yandy were working on their own reality show in response. Others said Mendices was planning a tell-all to reveal everything that occurred behind the scenes. As for Kirk, he was reportedly releasing unreleased backstage footage from earlier seasons, teasing what he referred to as the real story that never aired. Fans were hooked. Every video, every comment, every status was picked apart for answers. But as speculation across the internet escalated, one thing was becoming undeniably clear. This wasn't just the end of a show, it was the fall of a reality TV empire. And at the heart of it stood Mona Scott, the architect of a franchise built on raw emotion and real-life chaos, now being blamed for tearing it down without hesitation. Despite the rising backlash, Mona stayed quiet. She didn't contact the cast. She made no public statement. She didn't even update her own social accounts. She simply moved forward with the new production, quietly and confidently, as if the uproar didn't exist. Yet the noise kept growing louder. Industry sources began leaking new information. Apparently, Mona had pitched the new concept months earlier and secured funding from a major streaming service. That explained the secrecy. She had to stay silent until the deal closed. But now that everything was set, she was ready to roll, and seemingly didn't care who got hurt along the way. Reports started surfacing that the new cast had already started filming in Atlanta and Houston, and some high-profile names were tied to the pilot. That made things even worse for the original crew. Not only had they been blindsided, they had been outright replaced. And just when it felt like things couldn't get more heated, another curveball hit. Someone close to the production leaked an audio note, allegedly recorded during a fierce exchange between Mona and a network executive. In the clip, a woman believed to be Mona is heard saying, "I don't owe them anything. I made them famous. They should be thanking me." The internet went wild. Fans who once hailed Mona as a pioneer now labeled her as egotistical and ungrateful. Hashtags like #JusticeFor and #BringBack. Yandy began trending. Everyone wanted to know, what would the cast do now? That's where the next phase of the saga began. The leaked recording sent shockwaves through the entertainment world. Listeners couldn't believe what they heard. Mona Scott, the woman credited with launching so many stars, speaking with what sounded like complete disregard for the very people who helped her build an empire. Individuals who had bared their deepest traumas, exposed family drama, and shared personal pain, all for authenticity and ratings, were now allegedly being cast aside like they never mattered. And just like that, public opinion started shifting. While Mona carried on with her new show, the original Love and Hip Hop stars were no longer just faded reality personalities. They were now being seen as victims of betrayal. Kirk Frost acted swiftly. He contacted several other cast members who had also been left out. Word spread that he and Rashida were quietly preparing a response. Not just online statements, but a complete exposé. The couple had stockpiled behind-the-scenes footage from years on set, unedited content that could drastically sway public perception. Rashida reportedly told a friend, "If Mona wants war, she's gonna get it. We got receipts she never wanted out." Things began taking a more serious turn. Meanwhile, Mendices and Yandy weren't idle either. Yandy was still emotionally wrecked, still grappling with how quickly they had been cast aside. She'd always remained loyal to the franchise, even during controversies, even when fans turned on her over confessionals or manipulated scenes. She had defended the system, defended Mona, but now that loyalty was shattered. Mendices, normally more reserved, was the first to propose going public. He said, "They think we need that platform. We already made our names. Now it's time to use them to tell the truth." So they started laying the groundwork to share their side of the story. uncut, unfiltered, and uncensored. The pair quietly reached out to media contacts. No official announcements yet, just low-key talks with bloggers, podcasters, and journalists. Their mission was simple. If Mona was moving on without them, they would make sure the public knew what really happened first. The betrayal, the manipulation, the broken promises of loyalty and inclusion. They wanted the world to understand the emotional impact. Their lives had been built around production schedules. Their income depended on the show, and they had sacrificed their privacy, only to be ghosted in the end. As the original cast started organizing, fans noticed something else. Some of the newer love and hip-hop stars were unusually quiet. A few even unfollowed Mona on social media. It didn't take long for more whispers to start. Insiders claimed even those cast members weren't informed about the cancellation until they saw it online. Supposedly, only a handful of people from the last season were offered spots on the new show. Everyone else had been discarded. Resentment began to build. One anonymous post read, "We were promised contract renewals, then left hanging. Now we're watching our replacements film? Nah, that's foul." But it was a late-night live stream from Rashida that really set things off. She went live without glam. No makeup, no filters, just pure emotion. Thousands of fans tuned in as she poured out her anger and sadness. She didn't say Mona's name, but the message was obvious. "Some people smile in your face and then erase your whole career like it was just a storyline," she said, tears welling up. "We gave that show everything. Our marriages, our kids, our heartbreaks. And for what?" Kirk's voice could be heard in the background trying to calm her down, but she kept going. "And y'all wondering if it's true?" "Yeah, it's true. They ended love and hip-hop and didn't even have the respect to tell us first." The chat exploded with responses. Fans were shocked, heartbroken, furious. Many had grown up watching this cast, following their journeys for over 10 years. Now they were finding out the show was gone from live streams and whispers, and worse, watching their favorite stars unravel emotionally in real time. People even started pulling up past interviews and reunion segments, trying to find signs that this fallout had been coming for years. The hints were all there. Moments when cast members mentioned being drained, disagreed on creative directions, and felt taken advantage of. But it hadn't all been connected until now. Then another curveball hit. Yandy posted a vague video on her Instagram story showing a blurred contract with the caption, "They thought we didn't have moves." Immediately, fans began speculating. Was she switching networks, launching her own show, or joining forces with Kirk and Rashida? The rumors blew up fast, and within hours, blogs ran with the story. Headlines like Yandy planning retaliation project and Kirk and Rashida set to reveal Mona's truth were everywhere. Even though the cast kept things unclear, the hype was undeniable. The situation had gone mainstream, and Mona could no longer avoid it. But rather than answer directly, Mona allegedly made a calculated move. She quietly reached out to one of the original Love and Hip Hop producers, the same person who had once vouched for her with the network. A source close to the matter claimed Mona was panicking behind the scenes. The backlash had grown more than expected. Platforms were becoming hesitant. Sponsors had concerns, and worst of all, someone had leaked early footage of real roots and fans weren't impressed. The response was mediocre at best. Without the raw energy and iconic faces of Love and Hip Hop, the new series felt overproduced and flat. It looked slick but lacked soul. Now Mona was in a bind. The very people she had cast aside were now threatening the success of her next major venture. And worse, they had dirt. Old secrets, unseen content, and proof that could reshape Mona's image. A producer familiar with the situation reportedly warned her, "You better make things right or this whole thing's going down." Meanwhile, the cast held another private meeting, this time without Mona. Kirk, Rashida, Yandy, and Mendices gathered in a quiet lounge in Atlanta to plan next steps. They debated whether to expose Mona or take a more dignified path. Kirk wanted to go all in. He believed fans deserved the truth. Rashida was conflicted. She still had ties with some of the production crew. Yandy, always calculated, pitched another idea. "We don't need to destroy it. We need to create something stronger, something no one can take from us." Mendices agreed. "It's time to take control of our story. No more cuts, no more puppets." The room fell silent, but a shift was happening. For the first time since the news broke, they felt powerful, not tossed aside, but driven. They realized they didn't need Mona to be relevant. They just needed each other. They chose to stay silent for now, quietly work in the background, and when the moment came, they'd act. Still, the drama outside that room was intensifying. Fans demanded clarity, networks were getting involved, and gossip pages dropped bombshell after bombshell. Then came another twist, straight from the Real Roots production team. An anonymous message was sent to several major gossip sites, some with close ties to reality TV insiders. It included a screenshot of a group chat among new Real Roots cast members. One castmate vented, "This isn't what I agreed to. It's dull. They're asking us to fake drama and it's not hitting. We feel like cheap knockoffs of the old cast." Another replied, "I miss the real love and hip-hop vibes. This just feels off." Within minutes, the screenshot went viral. Fans started tearing the new show apart before it even premiered. Between the leaked footage, the cast's lack of enthusiasm, and growing frustration with Mona, things were spiraling. Then Scrappy spoke out. He hadn't commented since the news dropped, but now he joined Rashida, Kirk, and Mama D on Instagram Live. "They forgot who brought heat to this show," Scrappy said while pacing in his yard. "We gave them authenticity, pain, drama, love. And now they're replacing us with folks who don't even got real problems? Nah, that's wild." Mama D chimed in from the background shouting, "I'm the queen of the South. They can't erase me." Over 70,000 people tuned in, and fans flooded the chat with love, calling for a boycott of the new show and demanding a proper platform for the original stars. Behind the scenes, the chaos deepened. One of the original Love and Hip Hop Atlanta producers was reportedly ready to break their NDA to speak out on what they called years of manipulation and unfair treatment. In an anonymous post, they claimed cast members were often misled about pay. Contract changes were made without warning, and personal stories were edited to damage reputations. "They didn't care about us," the post read. "They cared about ratings. If you stopped pulling numbers, you were out." Rashida and Kirk allegedly reached out to the producer to discuss using the revelations in a new documentary. The Vision, an unfiltered series telling the full story, from the people who built love and hip-hop into a pop culture giant. Yandy and Mendices joined the plan, speaking with legal advisors to make sure they could proceed without breaking contracts. It was risky, but worth it. This was about reclaiming control. Meanwhile, Mona's team tried to do damage control. They dropped trailers, posted interviews, and pushed shiny promotions for Real Roots, but it fell flat. One trailer on YouTube had more dislikes than likes. Comments were harsh. "Bring back Kirk and Rashida, this ain't it." Another said, "We want real stars, not knockoffs." To make things worse, a leaked voice memo from a Real Roots staff meeting surfaced. Someone high up in production said, "Maybe we should have kept the OGs." The voice wasn't identified, but fans were convinced it came from someone in power. The memo went viral, and the story went from cast drama to a full production disaster. As all this unfolded, Kirk, Rashida, Yandy, and Mendices met with indie filmmakers. They brainstormed a new platform, not just a docuseries, but a full-fledged network where they controlled their image. No scripts, no forced drama, just reality. The filmmakers loved the pitch. Fans were hungry for something authentic. The group started reaching out to past castmates, Carly Red, Mimi Faust, even Jocelyn Hernandez. Word spread. Some were hesitant, others excited, but everyone agreed. They'd been used and tossed aside, and it was time for a change. The idea of a reunion show gained traction. Fans were living for it. Social media blew up. Then Yandy went live again, not to speak, but to reveal. In a bold move, she held up a hard drive labeled Season 6 Raw Footage and said, "They thought they owned our stories. They don't. We got the receipts. And when we drop this, you'll see what they never wanted you to see." She gave no further details, but the internet went wild. What was on the drive? Hidden fights? Proof of fake scenes? Mistreatment? Major blogs picked up the clip. Even Cardi B tweeted, "They've been doing folks dirty. Glad they speaking now." That tweet alone made the story explode. Mona reportedly tried to reach out to Kirk and Yandy with a peace offer, executive producer titles on Real Roots, but Kirk wasn't interested. He reportedly said, "Too little, too late. We're not your pieces anymore." And with that, the original crew moved forward. They quietly started filming their own series, raw, emotional, and real. Sneak peeks leaked, and fans went crazy. It felt like something new, something revolutionary. But Mona wasn't done. Word spread that she might sue, citing NDAs and intellectual property. But the cast was ready. They had lawyers. They had proof. And most importantly, they had public support. Then came the biggest twist. Someone from Mona's own camp turned on her. A betrayal that could bring down her whole empire. It started with a photo. No caption. Just a redacted contract with Mona's signature clearly visible. It was posted by someone never heard from before. Kevin, a former assistant turned coordinator. He'd seen the inner workings, emails, calls, closed-door meetings. And now, he was ready to talk. For years, Kevin had stayed faithful. But now that everything was unraveling, he decided it was time to speak out. Just minutes after sharing the image, Kevin followed up with an extensive message. In it, he detailed how Mona had deceived not only the cast, but also her own team. "I've kept quiet too long," he wrote. "I witnessed people being used, lied to, and discarded like they didn't matter. They created this brand and got nothing in return. She exploited their pain for profit and abandoned them when the numbers dropped." He attached screenshots of emails in which cast members were promised bonuses that were never delivered, and instructions given to producers to stir up drama by feeding false stories to certain cast members before filming scenes. The most shocking part of Kevin's revelation came at the end. A voice memo recorded during a private meeting between Mona and her senior producers. In the clip, Mona could be heard saying, "They're not stars. They're replaceable. When they stop trending, we'll bring in new ones." Her tone was emotionless and clinical, a devastating blow to her already tarnished image. Fans were outraged, the cast was livid, and Mona went completely silent. The backlash was immediate. Real Roots was officially paused, with the network issuing a vague statement about unexpected production difficulties. Sponsors fully withdrew, and blogs as well as mainstream outlets began presenting the love and hip-hop legacy as a warning about reality TV gone wrong. Mona's reputation, once hailed as trailblazing in urban entertainment, was collapsing before everyone's eyes. And while she tried to manage the crisis privately, the original cast pushed forward. Rashida, Kirk, Yandy, Mendices, Scrappy, and even Mama D assembled in Atlanta to unveil their next chapter. They rented a modest studio and held a live press conference streamed across various platforms. Yandy stood at the front, mic in hand, the rest flanking her. "We're not here to bash anyone," she began. "We're here to reclaim our truth." She introduced their new venture, an independent digital platform that would highlight authentic stories, beginning with their own. It would be called Truth Uncensored. The response was massive. Fans, celebrities, and influencers all rallied behind them. At the same time, a hidden clause in the cast's old contracts came to light, one that let the network use their likeness forever, even after letting them go. It was buried deep in the legal fine print, unknown to many of them. This ignited more anger. Lawyers got involved, and class action lawsuits were considered. The network scrambled, but the damage was already done. The original cast wasn't just telling the truth. They were setting a new standard, and the world was watching. Other reality TV figures started reaching out, wanting to know how they could take back their own stories. A quiet shift had begun, all stemming from the collapse of Mona Scott's empire and the people who once helped build it. Still, one question lingered. How far would Mona go to protect what remained of her legacy? Reports surfaced that she was exploring a tell-all book, aiming to twist the narrative. Insiders said she was already working with a ghostwriter and intended to portray herself as a misunderstood pioneer who was merely ahead of her time. But the public wasn't buying it. The receipts were out and the harm had been done. As we made the culture-wrapped filming, the cast came together for their final group scene. There was no acting, no directors, just a group of people sitting in a circle, sharing everything they'd endured. Yandy looked around the room and said, "They tried to bury us, but they didn't know we were seeds." The room went quiet, and slowly each person opened up about their hopes, not just for themselves, but for everyone who had ever been silenced by a system built on deception. When filming stopped, no one rushed out. They stayed. They hugged, laughed, cried. It was a moment that couldn't be staged, a reminder of what they had fought for. They had been misused, mocked, and dismissed. But now, they were free. And the story? It was finally theirs. The premiere date was announced, Fans eagerly circled their calendars, and the industry watched with anticipation. Meanwhile, somewhere away from the spotlight, Mona Scott remained silent,